Hey there. These are two different cars. Nope, I'm not lying to you, I promise. One of these is the Mazda CX-90, which has been on sale since last year, and the other one is the all-new CX-70. Actually, this one is the Mazda CX-70. Can you tell the difference? Now, you might assume logically that this is 70, so that means they took the 90s proportions and just went, "Meow." I thought the same thing, and then I got here and they said, nope, not the case. This is basically the exact same dimensions as the CX-90. The only difference is that there's 2 rows instead of 3, so you have more space to put people and things. Let's talk about this design for a second because it really does look fantastic. They still make some of the best looking SUVs on the road. Now, on a black painted car, it's a little bit more difficult to see, but all of the CX-70s are going to get black exclusive trim. So it's the shiny stuff you see around the grille, it goes around the windows and the mirrors as well. I still love this detail, the DRL that just goes right into the grille, gives it a nice prominent stance at the front of the car. We have an inline-6 badge, which in this case is a spoiler alert. We'll talk about that in a second, don't look just yet. And then we get to the rear 3/4, which is really funny to me because from this angle, I don't like it at all. But then suddenly you go around to the actual rear of the car and it looks great. It's a weird trick. I think it has to do with the way the light kind of flows down at the back of the car. In a way that's good design because it hits you from different angles depending on how you look at it. But overall, CX-70 continues a long-standing trend with Mazda. It looks fantastic. So just as that badge suggests, under the hood of the CX-70 is a 3.3 liter turbocharged inline-6 engine. Mazda made the decision that they want their SUVs to handle and drive better. In this case, they took an inline-6, they mounted it longitudinally and shoved it a little bit further back. Now this is also a rear drive biased platform, so that means in theory this should handle better than the SUVs that it competes against. Technically speaking, Mazda hasn't told us how much power this engine makes, but we know from the CX-90 we can make a really educated guess. It should make the standard car 280 horsepower and the optional upgraded version should be 340 horsepower. Now you might be thinking somewhere along the way, why am I buying this compared to a CX-50, even though that is a much smaller vehicle? It's still a 2-row SUV. This case, the inline-6 is one of those clear reasons that's more enthusiast driven. The CX-50 is of course 4-cylinder only, so that gives you a nice option here. But the good news is that is not your only powertrain choice. Now, Mazda tells us that they believe the technology for the moment is PHEV. And they think that so much that they put it on the side of the car. If you remember, they did do a full-on electric vehicle called the MX-30, and that didn't go very well. So I understand why they're doubling down on plug-in hybrids. Now this is the same plug-in powertrain from the CX-90. Technically speaking, they haven't told us the full details yet, but we can assume that one is gonna be the same as the other. So that would mean 323 horsepower and roughly 26 miles of all-electric range before you have to use the engine. So while we're still here at the PHEV, there's one other thing I wanted to show. This is actually exclusive to the plug-in hybrid model. If you go for the inline-6, it's all going to be color matched. Now this is a chunky piece of body cladding. Apparently Mazda thinks the plug-in hybrid customers want something just a little bit more rugged looking. To me, that's a lot. You're gonna have to really want it, but you know what? Some people, they're all about it. One other thing I want to show you real quick. The good news about this specific plug-in hybrid is that you don't lose any cargo capacity compared to the inline-6. The battery pack is shoved underneath the rear seats, and that's great because we don't like those kinds of compromises. And welcome to the inside of the CX-70. I've been in here just for the last couple of minutes kind of poking around while we've been setting up for this shot, and let me tell you, it feels nice in here. As you look at the materials, the way everything feels, the way everything looks, this feels upmarket compared to a Jeep Grand Cherokee or a Honda Passport, some of the core vehicles that CX-70 will compete against. I love just how simple the dash is and everything is exactly where you want it to be. All of these buttons, actual toggle switches that you can use to control your air conditioning, your heating, your heated seats, all the stuff is right here exactly where you want it, easy to control and not distracted while you're driving. Speaking of, right here is the upgraded infotainment. This is a 12.3-inch display, and there's also a 12.3-inch display in front of me as a driver. The funny thing about this is it does get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That is great, fantastic, we love that. Good job, Mazda. but it's only a touchscreen when you're using CarPlay or Android Auto. The native system, all the Mazda stuff, you still have to use the scrolly controller thing down here. Mazda will die on this hill until the end of time. It was with the Mazda 3 and all the other vehicles in the past. They will not, for the life of them, make a touchscreen for their infotainment. They don't believe in it. The rest of the industry has completely moved away from that, and I think that this suffers because of it.
Noise.
All right, drink all of this in, because this is probably the single biggest reason to buy this vehicle, especially if you're looking at something which is cheaper like a CX-50. The passenger space that you get back here is fantastic. This is a really killer second row. Now, I am not a tall man by any stretch of the imagination. You love to point that out in all of our videos, but guess what? People much taller than me are gonna hang out back here, no problem. Tons of legroom, really solid headroom, and the overall space is just fantastic. 2 USB-C ports down here too, that's nice. It's a little bit more modern. Some Mazdas in the past haven't used those. Other than that, not too many gimmicks or party tricks, just a really solid space to spend some time on a road trip. So behind me right now is some of the fun behind the scenes stuff that happens on these shoots from time to time. This is the moment where I was going to show you all the cargo capacity that the CX-70 has, but the car refuses to open its tailgate. So just imagine right now that you're looking at the back area of the CX-70, and I'm gonna tell you that the cargo space is very comparable to what you would get in the CX-90. Exact figures are coming from Mazda, but overall, this is what it looks like. Just imagine. So this is the CX-70, and it gives them a complete lineup of vehicles, maybe for the first time. Let's roll back the clock roughly 10-15 years. During that period, Mazda made the CX-9, the CX-7, the CX-5, and the CX-3. And if you look at all of them next to each other, it makes perfect sense. A nice SUV for everyone, regardless of your family's size. But Mazda never sold all of these at once.
No more noise from you.
They killed off the CX-7 to make room for the CX-5, and then the CX-3 was way late to the party after that. Fast forward to this year, Mazda will have the 90, the 70, the 50, and the 30. But unlike before, all of these cars will be on sale at the same time, which should be a great opportunity to actually sell cars, something that this company isn't always great at. So Mazda now has its complete SUV lineup, but I'm wondering what challenges the CX-70 is going to face. Now, it does have some good competition like the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Honda Passport, vehicles that have been around for a long time now. The thing I'm really thinking about is the fight that we'll have within this company. If you fold down the rear seats in a CX-90, it's basically the same car. So for me, the way Mazda is going to make the CX-70 successful is by pricing it competitively. That means between the 50 and the 90. If this thing is a good bit cheaper than the CX-90, I think it has a great shot at big sales success. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching. So they took an inline six, they mounted it longitudinally. What did I say? Longitudinally. They shoved it longitude. Okay, I don't like because I'm gonna laugh at this one if you look at this one. They mounted it longitudinally and shoved it a little bit further back.